What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gents, we are back. We are back in a big way. Enoch is ranking right now at the new season split, but we got Jumba and Don here today, and we had technical difficulty to start this show. I almost put my fist through this laptop screen. So we are going to just have a relaxed one today. You know, we're going to have a relaxed one, but no matter what, we're still going to break down at least Pool A of EWC. We've got some really good teams. Pool A is a stacked group. Pool B is too.
Can I say I don't like the terms Pool A? I like Group A, Group B. I'm something about Pool. It's not doing it for me.
It's not doing it for you?
It's not doing it for me.
Could we think of something else that's not Group A or Group B, but also not Pool A or Pool B?
Okay, hold on. Flock, a gander.
Flock
a gander.
A.
Flock
Gander,
A, Flock B.
These
are like murder.
A,
These are a lot of bird
B.
things. What is a group of falcons?
A group of falcons.
I mean, it's probably just a flock.
A
flock? Cast.
It's a cast.
It's a cast.
Okay.
Cast A.
Yeah, don't you know that? Because, like, guess what? A murder is just for crows.
It's
a
crows.
murder of crows.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Come on.
So,
Donnie.
So should we just do Cast A, Cast
Don't know what
B?
to tell you.
No, because I feel like are we Falcons fans at that point?
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess I'll just stick with.
How about Pool?
Yeah, let's do Pool.
Yeah, let's do Pool.
I actually
okay,
like Pool.
Pool sounds good.
Pool.
Great.
All right, so we got Pool A. We're gonna go through here today, but before we get into all of that stuff, I think we need to do a quick little breakdown for people who aren't familiar with EWC. Last time when we had EWC, it was a part of ALGS, but not in the typical like LAN setting. It wasn't like, you know, the three LANs that we had from last year. It's kind of like an extra LAN. This time it is a part of that entire circuit. So I think we got to go through and talk about this format because it's going to be vastly different than what we've seen in the past. So I don't know, Jumba, do you want to hit with the format?
Yeah, I got it here. If you give me one quick sec, I can rip through it. So first of all, July 10th. So we from the time of recording this, it's just about 2 weeks that it starts. It's going to be July 10th, 40 teams, $2 million on the line, $2 million US. I find that I'm always told that's supposed to be specified that they want that. Anyways, so there's, for context, I'll give everything here. There's going to be 16 squads for the Americas region, 8 teams from each of the EMEA, APAC North, APAC South regions. You know that if you remember from regional finals when we talked about some of that stuff. The way it works is there's Pool A, and then there's going to be Pool B. Okay, in Pool A, it's both groups are 20 teams, and they're 10-match series. All right. So across those 10 match, it's just you accumulate your points, and the top 7 teams from each group automatically go to finals. So you're like, 7. That's really weird. And again, finals. That's really weird. Yes, only one group stage set, 10 games, and you can go straight to finals. 7 go through. 3 teams are automatically eliminated in their group. So we will have 3 teams that fly to Saudi Arabia and then go home. They don't leave immediately, but they have to sit in the stands and watch. And then day 2, same shit's going to happen. So then you mean what happens to the rest of the teams? The other 10 teams from places like 8th to 17th, those 10 teams from both lobbies then play in a last chance semifinal. And in that semifinal, they brawl it out 10 games again. Top 6 will then go through to finals to round it out. Last year, this is the exact same format at EWC, if you were curious about how that worked. Last year, they did it where 9 teams from each group went through. Mm-hmm. 1 team was eliminated each day. And in the last chance semifinal, only 2 teams qualified through, which made that semifinal really kind of fucking ruthless and crazy because you're like, holy shit. If we don't make it through in our top 9, we're pretty much not there. But they also made it that, like, when we were watching it, there were some teams in, like, game 10 just doing wildly stupid shit.
Yep.
Some teams that, like, players are now... I'll stop. I talk bad about the one player. No, I'm not going to talk bad about that one guy all the time. Anyways, they what's it called? They did some dumb shit because they were unfortunately like in last place and they needed to figure it out. And then some teams didn't give a shit. So this will be cool. This will be cool now that it's got 6 teams. It means a little bit more.
Yeah. So it was. It's going to be like a weird format in a way, and like you mentioned last year, it it wasn't as crazy when it was like the final team just gets eliminated, but it is absolutely insane that somebody will fly there, and in the first set of games you're just already out. Like it
I mean, the
is a
same
wild
thing
scenario.
happened for Rally. Like 20 teams went, or not Rally, for New Orleans. 20 teams went home on day one, and then 80 teams went home on day two, which is even crazier if you think about 100
Yeah.
teams went and played for two days. But you know, it's Saudi Arabia, and even though there's like a lot of people from Europe, it's not as long of a flight. You know, it's just I feel like it's a trek and like
It's a
a
trek.
big process to get there, and yeah, to kind of go out on your first day is wild.
So they're gonna have to step it up big time. They're gonna have to do it up big. Just don't get bottom three. Just don't get bottom three. Now, from a viewing perspective, from how we are going to be watching it, it should be very interesting because I don't remember too much about EWC last year when it came to the last place teams, but I felt like they were pretty solidified coming down to the end there. So it wasn't as exciting. Like, oh my god, like this team they're fighting to not get last year. But bottom three, I think that's going to be a much more exciting race.
Yeah,
because you could go into that final game 10. A team has sucked all day long, and then they just win that game, and it changes everything. You know,
There was if I remember correctly, there was one like the one of the sets where like the two bottom teams were brawling it out in a way of more like who is worse than the other. Like I think the one qualified by maybe sneaking into 10th place and getting a point where the other just died early or some shit like that, right? Or they might have had like a slightly good game. But yeah, I was like this one will be like where like maybe there is a little bit more intensity where those teams are trying really hard, where the other one was just like, oh, 19th was shit, but 20th was just a little bit more shit.
mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So we also, with all of this, got a brand new update to the game with some new patch notes and some legends that have gotten a lot better. One of those coming to mind is Watson, which I wanted to ask you guys. I haven't seen too much in scrims, but has Watson been more of a like presence in those scrims? And do we think she's going to go out a little bit earlier, especially now that it's going to be 10 game sets?
Before you hop in, Donnie, I just want to say also too, World's Edge is coming back for EWC, and they will be
huge.
playing World's Edge, E-District, Storm Point, Broken Moon. If I remember correctly, I don't know, like, and Don, maybe you remember this, but I think it's going to be something like this. It's like group stages are like 3 maps on E-District, then 2 World's Edge, 2 Broken Moon, and then 3 Storm Point. Like, that might not be exactly it, but groups are the same like that. And then semifinal is going to be a little bit different, where it's like whatever the 2 maps were for both, those become the 3 maps, and then the 3 map ones become the 2 map ones, and then the final, I believe, is I don't know, like
so I can tell you right here, I got it pulled up. So for the groups, it'll be 2 World's Edge, then going into 3 E-District, 3 Storm Point, and then 2 Broken Moon. I'm assuming that's probably for both groups, which it is.
Yeah.
And then the last chance semifinal, it is 3 Broken Moon, 2 E-District, 2 Storm Point, 3 World's Edge. And then for the match point finals, it starts
1-1-1
all Broken Moon.
Yeah, it's actually all Broken Moon. It's crazy you called that out. But no, it starts on E-District, and then World's Edge, Broken Moon, Storm Point. And then like it did with the regional finals, it wraps back around. So then game 5 is Storm Point, Broken Moon.
1-1-1 snaked. Yeah. Just call me the GOAT. Like, I didn't even remember those, and I was just like, this is probably the most logical way they'll do it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
He's just that guy.
Yeah, I'm just that guy. Anyways, yeah, so
there we go.
So Watson, though.
Nuked game 1 of scrims since the update. Even the scrim before the update, she was nuked game 1. So that's definitely going to be how teams are going to play it. I think you'd be dumb not to have the Watson game 1. It's just crazy that we've started like essentially these legend bans with like an Ashe being banned and now we're to Watson being banned like game 1. And I do think even with all the regions coming in and it just being, a lot of different play styles, I do think that'll continue on LAN. After that, I still think it'll probably be like an Alter Ashe. Will probably still follow, but it'll be very interesting to see if some of that stuff shifts on LAN, because we'll see sometimes in scrims, like, yes, people are playing some things that they'll probably play at LAN, but we do have seen some teams play different things and then they get to LAN and play something completely different because they're trying to hide strats or something like that. So I'm very excited for the legend bans, especially if we get to match point Sunday and it's like a 13-14 game thing like we had last year. it'll be crazy to see what some of these comps are like, because I didn't even get to watch it last year. I was on a bachelor party, so like it'll be really fun to kind of see how this all plays out this year and see it live instead of trying to watch, Apex at 2 a.m. in the morning after coming back from the bars. So
Yeah.
it'll be a lot more fun this time to watch it live. So
Can I disagree with you for a moment though?
Oh.
I don't know if Watson might get banned. Watson will be used, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
But like I don't know if she's going to be game 1. I think it's happening right now because she just came out and teams are like eager to test her.
yeah,
And like so a lot of teams are jumping on her, which then they don't get to play their scrim block with her because she fucking gets banned game 1.
yeah.
But like
shit.
yeah, I think that that's just the thing. Like she just came out. I think they're going to test her out a little bit and try it. Obviously her being controller is great. She gets support perks now. That's great. Her ultimate and like the doors thing, like like it kind of replaces some catalyst abilities and everything like that. Really good for bunkering down buildings, but if you're trying to be flexible and like rotate, like using a catalyst, or you want that beacon scan that you get with alter or the fallback with alter, you lose that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think that it might just be like, because we just saw her, I'd need like another week or two to really like make that decision, like if she's going to be game 1 ban.
I think for me, I could see maybe in the group stages that may be different because of you're just trying to accumulate as many points, right? So like teams might take some early fights, but I do think potentially in that last chance semifinal and or match point finals, I could see Watson being banned game 1 when people are trying to play maybe a little bit slower. They feel a little bit more of the pressure where they can take less risks. So I do think I would disagree maybe on that part, but I could see where you're coming from with the group stages, especially where a lot more teams will play a lot freer. They have that extra, obviously they still have the bottom 3, so you can't go like completely full crazy. But I could see some teams coming out and just wanting to fight. And so you're obviously not going to play a Watson when you're running that kind of edge play style most of the time. So,
yeah, that's possibly fair.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see because I did forget to like Catalyst is still so good with what she can do. So, and especially if you're playing like an edge POI and you're not like, you can't really bank on just assuming you're going to get a zone. Trying to run across the entire map with Watson isn't always ideal. So yeah.
I'll be interested too because we get these lands right, and there's so many different compositions or different play styles. These regions come in and play, like we saw, like Sparrow Crypto or early bans over in like an APAC, whereas in Mia and the Americas, it's always been Alter and Ash. So I'll be interested to see kind of what ends up winning out. I think a lot of the time, and Jumbo, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the APAC teams end up kind of following what Americas does most of the time. So we could still see like the Alter Ash be the ones that are still banned early on. But I would be interested to see if like we do get some teams that really try to play like, because I've seen a lot more of an uptick in like Sparrow. Like for example, like 100 Thieves really wasn't running like a ton of Sparrow at times, but Evan has just been all Sparrow since they've been doing scrims lately. So I'll be very interested to see if some teams start to use his flexibility in kit and Sparrow maybe gets banned a little bit earlier with some of these Americas teams picking him up more. So yeah, I think that's what I'm honestly most looking forward to is like how these cross regional, teams and these play styles that they have, what kind of ends up being the ban eventually. So it'll be fun to watch.
All right, so enough with the bans, enough with the format. Let's get into Pool A here. And when it comes to Pool A, we have a lot of different teams. I'm going to pull it up on the screen right now if you're watching on the YouTube. If you're listening to audio, these are the teams inside Pool A. We've got Alcadzia, AGG, Edward Gaming, E36, Fnatic, Furia, Genji Esports, Kinotrope, KOI, Mouse Esports, Navi, NIP, Nosy Fox, Sentinels, Falcons, Team Nemesis, Team Orchid, TSM, Wolves Esports, and Zero Tenacity. Now, out of this group, I feel like we have to give the first nod over to Team Falcons. They won the Open. They also won their Pro League in the Americas region. I feel like they're the team to beat, and they are the big fish coming out of the entire tournament, to be honest, but also Pool A. So when we talk about Falcons here, things are starting to come together for them real nicely. They're kind of settling into that mode that we figured that they would settle into in the early days of the Falcons roster conglomeration. But when we look at Falcons right now, going into this type of format, anything can happen. I think the one thing about EWC is because it's such a different format, it's just odd. It's just odd. We have seen, though, when they had to deal with the Open, they still managed to bounce back and make sure that whatever they were doing was going to work, and they ended up lifting up that trophy. So, Jumbo, I'll throw it on down to you here first. When it comes to Falcons, are you expecting kind of that same, maybe get out of the gates a little bit slower, but then they kind of bounce back and turn it on early and later into that finals round?
Yeah, I mean, they that's an interesting question. I feel like I've talked to some of those guys. Like I've talked to Privacy before, where he says like they're such a momentum based team where if they get started early, they will have a great day. But like I do agree with that. You're right that there's a lot of times we see them have that slow start and then ramp up afterwards. Right, like last EWC match point final took them like 5 or 6 games to get going, but then once they hit match point final, they were like they made like top 5 every single game in a row. And then in the first set in their groups, I think they didn't like. I actually looked through my tweets recently, and I think I went like 3 or 4 games. They were doing not so great, and then I left for 2 games, and they won back to back. I left the arena for 2 games. They won back to back. So it's like, and then I came back and they got like second, and then they won, and then after they fucking closed out and dropped like a fucking nuke of like 140 points or something like that. So do I think so? I can't really answer that. I don't really know. It depends how they come out with the day. Do I think that they're gonna win their lobby when I look at everyone else in it and like the top teams? I think it comes between like, yeah, them, NIP, or Alcadia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that they got that.
Yeah, if we're talking about some of the other teams that are in and around this lobby that could, I don't even want to say surprise, but should be talked about here. I think the other one we got to talk about is Navi. Navi was a team in Go Next at the time that won champs, and people did not really know who they were. Then they come in to the next Pro League split, and they were dominant. They didn't win, but they got second place, and it was relatively close. Navi has continued to impress. They've done really well. I think now they've kind of solidified themselves. Maybe that win just gave them the confidence that they were always needing. They had always been making finals lobbies. They just weren't doing well in those finals lobbies. They finally get their shot in Sapporo, and they prove everybody wrong. They win it, and then people are like, that'll be a one-off. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's a one-off. Getting second in Pro League in like dominating fashion, that might be a team where we're looking at, later on in the day after day one, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like they should be here. So, Don, I'll throw it on down to you. Was there another team other than Navi and Falcons that you think could surprise some people, or maybe just you feel and expect them to be dominant?
I mean, going through the list of teams here again, like Alcati is a good shout. We could throw, maybe like an all gamers in there. I think a team I'm actually really interested to see, and a team I think I sometimes bring up a decent amount, is Gen G, who used to be Green Stego. They're a team that's always interesting to watch at LAN because you watch them in their own region, and it's like they're just frying everybody. Like they had a really good Pro League split, finished second overall, I think by like 1 point to VK Gaming. But it always seems like they haven't quite made the transition on LAN at times. At the Open, they end up getting 9th place, which is their best finish they've had as a group. I believe it's their only top 10 that they actually have had at a LAN. So I'm curious to see if that's something they may stack on to and move forward with, because they're a team that can pick up a ton of kills. Like they are a very good fighting team, love to play edge, love to play aggressively, but we've seen moments at LANs where they make very poor choices when they come into ring 3, ring 4, ring 5. We saw an E-District game where they try to land behind Falcons in no cover, and Falcons ends up nuking them, which ends up basically throwing their game and Falcons' game. And then we saw in the game where Falcons won, SAUL was in that spot, and the cave, back in the cave, essentially, if you want to call it cave, whatever you want to call it back there behind the highway. But they come flying in, Green Stego does, and they literally just land on their face and end up, again, essentially throwing both of their games. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can potentially flip to a little bit more of a LAN play style where, like, yeah, in some of these early rounds, you can go get kills, you can stack up points, where I do think if they fight the way they can, I do think they'll be one of the 7 teams that does go to finals, just because I think they'll fight that well. and I think that will translate to LAN. But I do think when they get into a match point situation, especially, you really can't play like the run and gun necessarily. Like it can work, but your odds are a lot lower in a match point style versus just kind of like an open, 10 games, just get as many points as you possibly can. So, because they're a team that can easily pop off, and we basically saw last year, you just get one or two really big pop off games, and you're typically fine. So, I'll be very interested to see if they can make that transition. But yeah, they're one team I definitely want to keep my eye on.
Yeah, so now we've got through the teams that we're kind of looking at. Like these are the teams that are heavy, I would say, favorites in a way. Teams that are you would expect to do really, really well. I still want to go through all these teams and talk about what they need to do to be able to win if they're having their best day, and what could cause them to derail the team with all the rest of these teams. And we'll start with AGG, All Gamers Global, dropped Zach and Skittle Cakes. Now, this team is very special to this podcast because we have traditionally said that they either get 5th or 6th, sometimes 4th, maybe 7th, maybe even 8th, could be 9th. But this team has the ability. They have the talent. They have the skill. They've got the coaching. They've got everything. So I'll throw it on down to you first, Dawn. When you look at AGG, what needs to happen for them to have their best day, and what could you see them what could you see holding them back from not being able to make this finals lobby?
I definitely think for them to have their best day, I think Zap needs to continue to be the opening fragger that he is. He ended up leading America's Pro League with 96 kills, which when you're in the same Pro League as Hal, that's pretty impressive because I can't remember the last time Hal hasn't really led a lobby, it seems like. But he's a guy that
I
can
didn't
have.
know that.
Yeah, he's a guy that can absolutely transform any situation into your favor when he's on. I mean, we saw it with TSM before he'd come over that him and Evan were such a good duo together that now he's come over to All Gamers where he's definitely a little bit more, I would say, by himself maybe at times, kind of being that guy that opens damage. But again, when you lead America's Pro League, which is the best pro league, just top to bottom, it's definitely something that you want to keep your eye on. And I think if they want to have the results that they have the potential for, Zap has to be their X factor and has to open fights the way he can.
Yeah, so now we move on over into the next team. We've got Alcadzia, and I'll start with you, Jumba. Alcadzia, they do great in the open. Everything goes really well for them. Very impressive. Awesome to see. We love to see Alcadzia. It goes back to the love affair with, I know you really love that one game, the Twisted Minds game, where they come all the way back. You're like, holy shit, one of the craziest games. We have no VOD for it. We can't even go back and look at it, which sucks so bad. But when you look at Strafing Flame, he's one of those players that stands out. He's super fun. He's got the personality. After the open, though, they kind of did struggle for a little bit. And that leads, like it begs the question, was it because they already had qualified? There was no reason to go all out in Pro League. Or maybe just subconsciously you're not going as hard because you've already qualified. Or was it because the team was actually struggling? So now that they go into this, they ended the season pretty well. They ended their Pro League split pretty well. But for Alcadzia, what needs to happen for them to have their most successful day, and what could hold them back?
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because I think they weren't really doing good in general in Pro League at the beginning, right? But I mean, they're a team with you mentioned Strafing Flame, but I think Pricey was one of the most valuable players at the open. That match point final day, I went on my way to go be like, yo, you were popping off today, and talk to him because he was insane. I think that he provides a ton of value. So what needs to happen? I mean, if you ask me about every team, what needs to happen, I feel like it's going to be a very similar answer. A lot of these guys have been top 5 at LAN before, whether we're talking about all Cads here, all gamers. You got Drop, you got Strafing Flame, who came 3rd, Drop, who should have won in Rally, or not in Birmingham, year 3 champs. What I'm getting at is that all of them know what they need to do in terms of playing their game plan, how they need to rotate, whether they're going to be edge teams or they're going to be zone teams. And this is going to sound like a blanket, term answer when you see a Pro League guy say, or like a NHL player say, just got to play my game and get pucks in deep. It's literally that though. They got to stick to the fundamentals and make sure that they just, how do I say this? Make sure they mitigate pointless mistakes, because I think that's what actually gets these guys screwed most of the time. They make some mistakes, they get in their head, and then they can't bounce back. I don't know. It's tough because there's a lot of teams out here that are really good. And when I was looking at it, and you were talking about like the favorites, and Donnie's talking about, Gen G or Green Stego, and I see Falcons, Navi, Fnatic, NIP, TSM, Furia, Alcadzia, Gamers. That's 8 teams, and only 7 go through.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do they got to do?
Off?
So what? Yeah, like I don't know. I find it a really difficult question. I don't think my answer was very good at all, because like, what do they need to do? I don't know. Like, it'd almost be like, don't be shit. Like, maybe my answers are really bad today.
Hey, that's a great answer.
That is a good answer.
I guess the one thing with Alcadzia is when you talk about some of those other teams you listed off, it seems like with some of those you get more consistency than we've got with Alcadzia. Like that's I feel like maybe what holds them back.
Strafing Flame, yeah, maybe. Like he's had like a lot of lands where he's done really good, and he's had some lands where he's done like not like poor, like and everything like that. But Player K, especially now we're talking about Watson buffs, is probably like the most experienced Watson player. Like that guy only plays Watson. Like when they go to lands. And then, like I said, Pricey's amazing, and Strafing Flame's my goat. And that's might not be a very good answer for other people, but I think they get in. Last year, that Twisted Minds team in the group stages, and they had Easy Flash instead of now Pricey. But I think Pricey still come in and done really well, even though Easy Flash was an insane fragger. And they finished second in their group, right? So they got through. They were just a few points behind Falcons. They struggled in finals. They didn't do very good in finals. But again, I find that, like, on any given day, you could be the best. If you could be the best team, or like not one of the best, they were towards the bottom at one point. I don't know. Like, it's really just, you got to find a way to play your game. And so it's a tough question for me. I don't know if there's any one thing I can say, like, oh, like Pricey's got to be on, or like Strafing Flame's got to hit his shots. Like, I don't think it's that. I think it's just like a holistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll say real quick too, just as a last note, is that I've gotten to know their analysts really well. And I do think that their biggest thing with their region is that it's a very aggressive region, and they play much more of like a zone, like get to zone play style. Like in their last couple of days of Pro League, I mean, there was days they were getting to top 4 like every single time. They just weren't getting a ton of kills. And that was kind of the question, was like, can they generate enough kill points to work their way up the leaderboards? So I think if there is one thing, because like, yeah, like Jumbo at the end of the day is right. Like, don't be shit. Like, show up and play the way you can play.
Don't suck.
And just don't suck. Yeah. But like, I do think if we are looking for like a question, is can they generate enough kills to push themselves up the leaderboard? That would be my only question. And,
which might be a funny thing I'm saying with like, don't suck. Like, no one shows up and just goes like, I'm going to be bad today, right? But it's just today. Like, yeah, like you just, like, they just have to be on. But it's like, the funny thing is I listed out all those like names. This is something that maybe we'll talk about at the end of the podcast, and maybe more when we talk about Pool B next week. But I want to compare the two groups, and I listed off those 8 teams as the teams I think could go through, and one's going to be left off of that list. The list for Pool B, I think, is way bigger. Like we'll go through all that. Yeah, we'll talk about that after. I think the list for Pool B is way bigger, but we'll get back to that at the end.
Yeah. Tune in next week for that. We move on over into Edward Gaming, and Don, I know you're going to be able to have the analysis for this. Give me some tidbits on Edward Gaming. Give the people what they want to hear on Edward Gaming.
Yeah, so Edward Gaming, they're formerly known as Dreamfire, for those who probably have heard them from past lands, 3MZ and Pite. I think I'm saying that right. Mm-hmm. But those are the two that have been kind of... Pita, is that right? I was gonna say, I was like, come on, man. I'm trying my best to be respectful here, but no. But they're 2 longstanding members of like Dreamfire. They've been together for a while. Return is a newer player that they've picked up more recently. They were unable to attend the Open, so we don't have much data with this particular roster when it comes to lands. But one thing I did notice is that their character selection is all over the fucking place. I couldn't tell you just based off characters who the IGL was, I mean, there's a guy that's on Ashe and Newcastle, the same block. There's a guy that's on Watson, Ashe, Fuse, Wraith within 5 games of each other. I couldn't tell you what their playstyle really is, because that's just all over the place. But I can say they have a very balanced attack when it comes to kills and damage and things like that. They don't seem to be an overly aggressive team just based on their numbers, but they are a team that consistently was in like that top 5-6 of the region. So I think with their past experience at lands, and I've heard a lot of good things about Return. So I do think they are a team that could be capable of sneaking into that top 7. Their biggest thing is that they struggle mightily on E-District, which I think for them, I think we had mentioned it's only 2 games for them. So if they can hopefully mitigate the damage that they may struggle with on E-District, I do think that they could, again, sneak into that top 7. But it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of end up being one of those teams that's like 8th to 12th, like they go into the last chance semifinal. But again, I do think they, based on their past experience, we've seen the Dreamfire name before. I do think there is some potential there. So we'll have to see what they end up doing at LAN.
We move on from Edward Gaming and we move into E36. And really the only thing that can save E36 is if these 2 hats that I bought from them in Japan get burnt on fire. Because if I'm wearing the hat, they are absolutely fucked. There's no way they're doing anything. That's my analysis for E36. I apologize. The hats are too fire. I wear them literally every single day. Today I'm rocking the snow one. Yesterday I rocked the regular camo. It's just what I do. I apologize. I'm sorry. The second I bought the hats in Japan, they had just had one of the craziest sets they've ever had. They were just dropping kills left and right. And then I think the next set, I think they got 18th. So that's really what it comes down to. And I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that wasn't it, but that's just what it is. Okay. I got to wear the hat. So I apologize, E36. Actually, take this as a challenge, because if you can find a way to dig deep and qualify while I'm alive and wearing these hats, it's actually another feather in your cap. And it'd be more impressive. They should actually engrave that on the trophy if they end up winning it. But yeah, that's my analysis for E36. You got anything, Tom?
I don't know if I can say anything much better than that, to be honest. Yeah. But no, I just in terms of the stuff for people that are more interested in kind of the numbers and stuff. They end up 3rd overall in APAC North Pro League. They kind of struggled a little bit at the Open. They got to some of the deeper rounds, but I think they expect to finish higher than 41st. So definitely a little bit of a struggle for them at the Open. Again, they can be a very aggressive team. As we saw at Champs, they had those pop-off games where everybody was like, holy shit, this team is dropping 20-plus kill games multiple times. Like, who the hell are these guys? Because, I mean, the last time we had saw E36 before Champs, they were nose diving off of height onto TSM's forehead. So I think they've definitely had some growth. So it was crazy, but it was, I think they've definitely grown a decent amount from that moment to now. And I do think they can be a team, again, that can get into that top 7. But again, they're going to be kind of that same boat as some of these aggressive teams that we see out of APAC is, can they translate what they do in their region to a LAN setting and still, get all these kills when there's so many good fighting teams in the Americas. You got the alliances and, all these other teams that are so good around the world fighting, can they translate that to this LAN and make it into that top 7?
Top tier logo, baller logo, by the way. So shout out them. We move into the next one here. Fnatic. It's been an up and down season. Kind of like a new look. They still have Yuka, but they now have Colonel Garcia, Libel, Ace. It's been a weird. It's been not normal. It's not like a typical Fnatic Pro League that we saw, right? It wasn't the same. Dawn, I think a lot of that can be contributed to just time playing together, trying to get used to the squad. That could be part of it. But do we still view Fnatic as the team that we viewed them as like a year ago, per se? Like, do we still hold them in that high of a regard? Where are they at?
I mean, I think right now we can't really hold them to that same regard, because obviously that regard was, they're instant lock for first place in their pro league every year. I think right now, just based on where they're at, again, they are a team that has a capability of making a run, because again, Yuka, Libel, Ace, when they're fighting well together, they can be a really dominant force, but they just have not found kind of where their consistent floor is. I mean, we literally saw where they got multiple top 2 or 3 finishes in Pro League, and they also got basically a dead last. So, like, we just, we don't know, I think, what version we're to get of Fnatic. I do think, like, right now we see Yuka F. I mean, he had 87 kills and 35k damage in Pro League, which was 3rd overall. And we have Libel Ace that I think had, half of those kills, had 46 or 47, which I think the idea when they brought him in was that he was going to bring a lot more firepower than that. So I'll be interested to see if he can maybe step up his game to kind of match a little bit more closer to what UKF can do. I won't say on par because obviously UKF is one of the GOATs. Like, he's just that good in fighting. But I do think if Libel Ace can turn up his production and, kind of feel a little bit more confident when it comes to some of their fights, we will see a much better version of Fnatic than a 6th place like they got in their own pro league. So
this is one of those teams, Jumbo, you look at it, you're just like, they could make a run though. Like they could do it. They could make a run. It's like one of those exciting teams where it's like maybe not jumping off the page because it's not the same Fnatic from a few years ago, but it's like, I don't know, maybe they can make a run. I think that's at the top of the list. You want to see them make a run.
I mean, Libel Ace's squad had, just narrowly made champs on kind of like a dream run, I believe, through LCQ, if I'm remembering correctly. They didn't do great at champs after, but just that ability to get there through the LCQ, I was expecting a lot from them. So yeah, we'll see what happens here when they get to the LAN.
I'm just saying, too, again, real quick, remind the people, Libel Ace came over to UKF and said, make me great. So if there's any time you can be great, it's at a LAN. So
you want a hilarious story about Libel Ace?
Go for it.
So me and Jay had to film this APAC North piece. And I think I've told this before where we had sectioned out time for filming with the Japanese players. And then we had to take them up into the stands of the Japan stadium. The day of that we were supposed to do this in our time block, they locked all the doors to get upstairs. And we did not know that. So we took them up one set of stairs, and then we took them up a second set of stairs, and then we took them up into the elevators, and every single path we took to get upstairs to where we're supposed to go was locked. So we made these guys go up and down 6 flights of stairs and 2 or 3 different elevators, try to get up there. And they were starting to get annoyed, and we can't communicate with them because they don't speak English. So finally, we said, screw this. We're just going to do this on the main floor. We walk out with the boys from CR, Sangjun, and then Obli. We start filming with them. We get it. Shots look great. We're gassed up. We turn around. We go to grab Libel Ace. He's gone. He just left. I don't blame him. If I didn't know what the fuck was going on and these guys just made me walk around circles around a pretty big stadium, I probably would have been pissed and left too, but he just fucking left. And then after I looked at the guy who's supposed to be in charge of him, the Japanese handler, I was like, where did he go? He goes, I don't know. I was like, you're supposed to know. You're supposed to stop him. So anyways, yeah, that happened. We got him back no more than 45 minutes later. And I had to film with one guy, and it might have been Yuka, and then Libel Ace. I was in a room with no freaking windows, no proper seating. It was just one chair and a camera and a microphone. And so I had all these really high level Japanese players sitting on the floor, just fiddling around with the water bottles because I had nothing else for them and I couldn't talk to them. Yeah, I was probably the most embarrassed I've ever been working on something.
Those are always tough situations there. That one's not fun at all. But that is Fnatic. We move on into Furia here. And now this is a team where I'm happy that they've stuck together. At least when we
should you be talking about Furia? Should you be talking about Furia?
I'm not going to say I'm not going to make a definitive statement on Furia. As a watcher of the team, I've observed. I'm happy that Madness and Keon decided to stay together. Noct, I think, has added a really good element to the squad as well. But when you look at Furia, the best placement for Madness and Keon so far has been 8th overall. So you look over at Furia, you're wondering what could this be? I do feel like they kind of fit into that. They could make a run team as well because they've had some weird sets where they randomly will get 18th with a kill, 15th, and then 13th, and then they'll just rip off back-to-back wins. And the rest of the time, they're just always hovering around the end game and getting kills and stuff like that. But I'll throw it to you, Jumba. I guess when it comes to Furia, I don't even know how to phrase what holds Furia back.
Furia is interesting because in the group stages they always tend to, like you said, pop off. They'll win sets. I was trying to find last year's details because I was really curious to see where they placed in Germany group stages. Germany group stages, they were 5th, and in the championship group stages, they were 13th. But at the Open, I remember them winning a set because we had Keon do an interview. And then in the finals, they just seemed to not show. Like that Germany finals, when we talk about, Falcons getting 20th, Furia was right there with them getting 19th. And you just wonder what happens. Maybe it's like some bad luck. Maybe it's like, things don't go their way. That's very possible. I mean, when we look at Alliance, for example, and a lot of their group stage mishaps in finals, like it was like, bad luck. So sometimes you need to look into that very closely, because when they do good, like in the final game of the LGS Open, they can absolutely roll. So yeah, they're definitely a wild card team for me, because I don't really know what to expect from them. They can either be one of the best teams in the lobby, or for some reason, like in the bottom, 5. Yeah, what's holding them back? It's going to be like making sure that Keon Noct are kind of putting out the damage that they can. Keon, I think, on any given day could be one of the best in the world, and that Madness is able to be confident in his calls. Sometimes I think that he is in really good positions and then makes a call to move because he thinks it's better, and it might not be as good as his first thought. So yeah.
The good thing for Furia is to know that you have a baller on the bench in JMO as a coach. If you need him to step in, he can step in and get you at least second place in a day. So we know that for sure. So that's big for Furia. We already talked a little bit about Genji earlier in the pod. So we're gonna move on over into Kinotrope Gaming. And Don, I'll throw this one to you. Kinotrope from APAC North. What do you got from those boys? What could we expect from Kinotrope?
Yeah, so just a couple quick hitters. They got 7th in their pro league. They'd gotten a top 40 finish at NOLA, which I think for this roster is definitely a very respectable showing, because they had 2 players making their initial LAN debuts down in New Orleans. So I definitely think that was a good stepping stone for them. Vols got 85 kills during the pro league, so that was 4th overall. So definitely some bragging potential when it comes to him. I do think that they will rely pretty heavily on Yuka Predators. I think I said that right. His LAN experience, because this will be his 8th LAN. He's had a ton of experience from the past, but I do think this could be a team that might struggle to stay out of the bottom 3, just comparative to a lot of some other teams, and how well some of these other teams have played, some of the experience. Because obviously for these guys, you had the Open where you had a lot of rounds where you kind of build yourself into it. Whereas this one, you're not going to have that. So I'll be interested to see if they're a team that can kind of avoid that bottom 3. Because I do think their goal, obviously they want to get to the top 7, but I think they might need to be thinking kind of just avoiding that bottom 3 and giving themselves another chance in that last chance semifinal.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to just managing those expectations and just trying to find a way to just get out of that bottom 3 zone and just make sure you're doing the best you can. And they definitely fit that role moving forward into EWC. We move on into the next one here. It's Mouse Esports from EMEA. We've got, this one's going to be interesting as well. How do you guys view Mouse Esports? Do we view them as a team that could be kind of fighting for that, trying to avoid the elimination zone, or are they maybe more of a dark horse team that could surprise some people?
In my opinion, I think they're not bottom 3 eliminated, but I don't know. They'd surprise me if they made it top 7 on that first day. Yeah, it's just 0-0's been around the game for a really long time, and he's also had moments of greatness. When I say a long time, 0-0 competed all the way back at X Games, so he's been a pro in Apex for since you can be a pro essentially. And there I believe he did good. But anyways, yeah,
so he got second at that. So.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, again, I don't know how much we use X Games to compare to now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But hey, he got second.
We take it
at X Games. But yeah, since then I haven't seen him do anything too crazy. I'm looking here, just pulled it up. 86 at the Open, which I mean, I think the Open was a much easier competition than what you're going to be seeing in EWC in those first sets, like you guys just said. So I don't, again, think that they're a bottom 3 exit, but maybe semifinal.
Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
move on into the next one here, and that's Movie Star Koi. And when you look at the best performances from the entire squad, you got Fun FPS, who has gotten second place at the Year 2 Split 2 playoffs. But then you have Blinkser, and how do you say this name?
It's Jelly. I don't know why
Jelly.
it's
Jelly.
spelled like
Okay.
that, but it's just Jelly.
Hey,
I'm
don't
gonna,
speak against one of my Canadian goats.
There we go. We got Jelly, and both of them 93rd
Canadian.
overall at the ALGS Open. So pretty different results for this team. Very different results. What can Movie Star Koi do here? They do feel like one of those teams that can get hot at the right time. I don't know if I'd call them like a dark horse at this point. I feel like as a team, they're still relatively new, trying to figure everything out with what they want to do and how they want to play. But what do you guys see from Movie Star Koi?
Don, did you want me to go or you want me to start?
You
to go? You
I'll
go or
for it.
Okay,
No, you're good. I'll go for it. I would just say that they're going to be one of those teams again that generating kills is going to be ultimately the question, because again they're going to be a much more patient team, a lot more of playing zone. It really is going to come down to picking the spots at the right time, making sure that they are rotating on time, they're not making any silly mistakes during rotations, things like that. Obviously, Fun brings a ton of experience, which is obviously going to be really good for the roster. And Blinkser and Jelly kind of got their initial LAN experience out of the way, so now you can go to EWC, kind of know a little bit more of what it's like to be in person, playing. People have spoken very highly of Blinkser and Jelly in their respective roles as guys that are kind of coming up with this younger, I don't even want to say like younger, but like just the not Hal generation, just kind of the next, the one next after that. But again, I think they will be another team that will struggle probably for that top 7. But we also did see during Pro League that they got a second place day, had a really big day. So obviously on the right day, they might be able to jump into the top 7. But I think ultimately just based on their play style, I think they'll end up kind of falling again in that middle of the order and kind of just trying to find their way through the last chance qualifier. But there's still a lot of good things to like with the roster. It may just be a little too early to maybe see like the full potential of these guys.
Yeah, like they were Oblivion before. Blinkser had made Pro League in previous years and just struggled. Like they just couldn't ever get that step. I felt like they were just literally like one of those in between teams, like too good for CC, but like struggled to hang in Pro League. Jelly's really young. He's literally 17 years old, and I think he just turned 17 because pretty sure last time I saw that he was 16.
He was the youngest player in America's Pro League.
He just turned 17 in February. So like, no, he's been 17 for a few months. But anyways, yeah, like, he started this Pro League as like a 16-year-old. And then like, as Donnie said about Fun, like he's obviously been around the game for a long time. Fun's probably one of the best, like when it comes to just pure mechanics. But unfortunately, when you got these roller psychopaths out here, you got the Imperial Hals, the Koifels, the Zainus, like even throwing like the Keons in there. I'm forgetting some other names that are just insane. Funds like unfortunately doesn't have the firepower. And I think like Donnie was right when he said just kills is going to be the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is Movie Star Koi. We move into another team that I think we probably could have mentioned at the beginning of the show as a team that you would expect to do well. And it's weird because we didn't really talk about them most of the season, but we're talking about NIP, Ninjas in Pajamas, with Vane, McLovin, and Karev. They really started to come along after they added Karev to the roster, and they made a run. They almost won this Pro League. They lost off of a tiebreaker, so it was very close for them, but they are another team where I do feel like they have a little bit of Furia in them, where it's some inconsistency at times, especially at the beginning of matches or sometimes even the end. But this team is still very dangerous, still very good. And when you look at the overall accomplishments here, it's actually pretty impressive considering Vane took a little bit of time off. But I mean, you look at Vane's best finish, you got 3rd place in the Year 3 Split 2 playoffs. You look at McLovin, got 13th at the Open. That was pretty much like the Open was kind of like his coming out party. And then you have Karev, who finished 16th at EWC. So they have a lot of accomplishments. They've been in this spot before, and it seems like they're getting to reach their pinnacle at the right time. So I'm really excited to see what NIP can do. You guys got anything else to add to NIP?
I was just looking for their standings. I'm obviously like with how they did in Pro League and how they finished off Pro League once they picked up Karev after the Open. I'm like obviously like expecting like big things from them here. At the Open, I was trying to see like how their points were after game one. I think that they got 13th, and I think that they would have been further up ahead if they didn't get pretty much ratted on by Twerkaholics in game one. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, like unfortunately, it took me about 15 minutes just to find them on the website and then realize I was supposed to go to the Open on the website. So it's taking me a long time to click around. But yeah, like they were there. You know, I'm really positive about like what their play could be, and I feel like Vane's on a comeback to her, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. So then we move over into Nosy Fox. And Don, we've done a lot of the regional recaps at the end of these episodes here. And that's a name we have said a ton. We've said that a bunch of times throughout this regional recap when we go through the Apex North region. They're killing it, man. They're doing really, really well. As far as their potential when they're mixed in with everybody else from all the other regions, where do you view them? Do you kind of see them as like a dark horse? Do you see them as a team that can make it into that top 7 to initially start it off, or where are you at with Nosy Fox?
I definitely think they can be a team that gets into the top 7. Obviously, we mentioned a lot of the names already. So, again, really, any of those 7 spots are going to be tough to get into. It's like you mentioned, though, like you have the success in Pro League. You know, there's obviously some teams that aren't really land caliber that you're going up against. So, what are they able to bring over to EWC when you see the world's best all in one place? You know, we saw at the Open, they finished outside the top 40, which you can say what you want about the format, but like, good teams find a way to get further along, like we saw with Falcons Run. So it is a roster that obviously came together at the start of year 5. So it could have just been the Open was like their first time. They kind of needed to figure some things out as a team. But again, you just look at the roster with Forufa, Satuki, Leica. There's a ton to like, a lot of big names, a lot of experience. So again, I think it is a team that they've all played on land before multiple times. They know what it takes to get it done. It's just, can they translate their success, bring it over to EWC, and just show that they do belong with everybody else.
So on them, if you were talking about Fnatic before and wondering what they could do because they're new and everything like that, Suzuki and Leica are the ones who played for Fnatic alongside Yuka as well. They had like a top 3 last year in the Split 1 playoffs, did pretty decent at, ALGS champs. As Donnie was saying, like Rufa, been around this team for a long time. Like these are your APAC North vets who have been to multiple lands, but actually also succeeded and did well at those lands too. So yeah, like, won pro leagues in the past as well. So yeah, like if you want to look at like who's probably the best APAC North team, it'd probably be them right now.
I'd 100% agree. Yep, that's their best chance to win EWC.
So then we move into
hold on. Do you maybe want Jumba to like introduce Sentinels, or are you past that now?
I'm just gonna say the team name. We have Sentinels. Do you guys have anything you'd like to say about Sentinels? Because I am banned.
Should we say anything about Sentinels?
Honestly, maybe we just skip them.
Not. Hey, Sen, if you're listening to this, any of the boys, not because we don't like you or something like that. In fact,
this is out of pure respect.
It's because we do like you. We might skip you.
So
shout out Sen, go watch Hope and root them on. Not Wyatt, everyone else.
Sentinels.
We're saying too much already.
We're doing this because we care. No, fuck. I just fucked it. Sentinels.
Cut the VOD.
Cut the VOD. We got jump down.
I'm just moving on. I don't want to do anything more. We already talked about Team Falcons. Let's move on into Team Nemesis. We got Team Nemesis from EMEA. They got 3rd place in the EMEA Pro League. Let's talk about this one here, Don. Team Nemesis for people who aren't watching EMEA.
Team Nemesis.
Yep, Team Nemesis. So Team Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good now. I think.
Yeah. Maybe. I think we got it.
Anyway, Team Nemesis.
All right, now we're good. So, yeah, looking at this roster, it is a lot of names that have definitely developed over recent years. We've seen Remix Powers obviously start to get a little more notoriety at Champs. And then Zuni has had a really good split so far. He led the team with 88 kills, which I believe was top 10 in EMEA Pro League. I would have to go look at that, but I'm pretty sure it is. They had made a couple roster changes like throughout the split, and they ended up with a new third. So it'll be very interesting to see. They had an okay run towards the end. So I do think that there is some potential, and I do think on the right day they might be able to find themselves in that top 7. But we did see at times some inconsistencies with this team. So if they do fight well, because again, like they've had some times where they absolutely fragged the lobby out. If they're able to do that, they should find themselves in that top 7. Because they were even some days they were even beating out, Alliance and some other teams that you'd expect to always win every Pro League day. So I do think there is some potential there. If I had to guess what I think they ultimately would do, I do think, at least just based on their last LAN appearance, because I don't believe they had made they got, what was that, 67th I think at the Open. So we'll have to see if maybe this next LAN is a little bit better for them. But again, on the right day, they are definitely a team they can find themselves directly in the finals.
Then we go on into a feel-good story, I think. Team Orchid. I like watching Team Orchid. Remember, we interviewed Rambo not too long ago, and obviously we also had on Panic, who was a part of that squad for a long time at the beginning of the season. So there we have this season we have some odd ties with Team Orchid, but it's awesome to see them doing well. It's awesome to see them qualify for this tournament. They did have to fill the Panic hole with Cersei. So Cersei has
Luxford.
Sorry, Luxford. That is the new player that is filled in on Orchid. And typically they've played that zone play style, but even in that regional final, they were sitting real pretty for a long time there. Just kind of faltered there at the end. But as far as Team Orchid goes, I feel like you're kind of playing with house money at this point. I don't think a lot of people expected Orchid to make it after Panic had left. They still find themselves in the position to do so. And who knows? Like, you get some good zones, you could surprise some people. Where do you guys sit with Team Orchid? I'll kick it off with you, Jumba.
All right. So, with Team Orchid, the big thing is that Hambino is not going to be going to the LAN. He's opted not to go. And so you mentioned Cersei. That's where Cersei is actually going to be playing with them. So it's going to be Cersei, Lux, and then Rambo. Now, Hambino is a really good IGL. I've always liked the way he's played. He's had several opportunities to be in Pro League and succeed in Pro League and had them rip it away from him. And then this year, it was awesome. I know that they were right on the cusp of not qualifying, got into that regional final, got into EWC now, and that's awesome for them. We'll unfortunately have to see how they're able to play with one of the other three taking up the reins of IGLing. I assume it might be Luxford. I feel like he's someone who's got like the most experience of the three, and I don't think he's necessarily would do bad at it. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a interesting watch to see how they perform now.
Don, is Rambo going to IGL?
My guess was that it was going to be Rambo, just because Luxford hasn't had a LAN appearance before. So I thought no. So yeah. I thought that with Rambo having at least some experience on LAN, that was going to be who I thought it would be. I'll have to pay attention a little bit more to scrims to see, because I know when Hambino has scrimmed with him, he's been playing the anchor to allow somebody else to IGL. So I'll have to pay a little bit more attention moving forward if that is Rambo. But yeah, like we mentioned, it's a good story. I mean, they're literally 20th. I think they maybe even got in with like a tiebreaker or like by 1 point into the regional final. And then they have, I think their best day, of the entire split during the regional final, which, great time to do that with the elevated points and everything. And jump them up to 16th and ended up qualifying. So definitely a lot of respect to those guys. Great to see, these kind of stories be able to play out at LAN. And we'll have to see, obviously, when you lose one of your main members, how, it goes. Unfortunately, they might find themselves in that, towards that bottom 3 conversation just because of that. But we'll obviously always be cheering on Rambo and the boys, and definitely hope things go well.
I would love to see a Rambo IGL. I would just love to see how that works.
See, I was only thinking Luxford for the reason that, like, despite the LAN experience, and not saying that Rambo doesn't understand the game, he always just has been that anchor type role, which then I feel like the players that if you're someone who was like a Jen Burton, who was like a fragger, who then like went to an anchor type role. If Jen Burton needs to IGL on a team, I mean, first of all, it's Jen Burton, but like I feel like he's got that full knowledge. Someone like Zainu comes up to. I'm talking about two of the best players in the game. Like, anyways, but like Rambo's always kind of played like that more anchor type role, in my opinion, if I'm remembering correctly. And so because of that, I just feel like if you're someone who's more on the front lines, able to fight really quick and everything like that, someone like Luxford, you might be able to get into that easier. And then Cersei, I felt like was like too new to the role and everything. So who knows? We'll see. We'll pay attention more to scrims maybe. And
I think we'll definitely see Cersei in like the fragging role, because that's kind of been what he's been since he's been in Pro League. And I think it'll definitely come down to Luxford or Rambo. I will say if Luxford is the IGL, they'll not be short of comms, because that man can comm like anybody else. So if he ends up being it, comms will not be the issue for sure. So
then we move into our final few teams here. We got TSM, Duplex, Gent, and our boy Panic, the young phenom. TSM, they get 7th in the American Pro League. And then I guess with this team, it's really just what version of TSM are we going to get? We've seen some bad versions of this roster, and then we've seen some really good ones. So I feel like it kind of fits into like the earlier teams we were talking about, where it's like, who are we going to see? Like, what are we going to get?
Just don't
be shit. Literally, that's what it comes down to. Is like it's where, and it's tough because you want to say that they easily fit into that top 7 because of the raw talent, but once again, it's like there's a lot of really good teams here who show up consistently. So I don't know, Don. Like, do you have anything that you think could hold them back?
I mean, I think it's always just going to come down to the balance between Duplex, who likes to play a little bit more patient zone, and Panic, who likes to definitely take space and be aggressive. They've got the experience with Duplex and Gent, and I definitely think they are amongst those like probably 8, 9, 10 teams you'd be looking at to be in the top 7 just on paper. And obviously Panic has shown his ability to pick up kills, which obviously goes a long way. But I think it is just ultimately like balancing out those two. We kind of saw some moments where there were some heated exchanges between the two, just because I do think they just see the game a little bit differently, which can be good, but also obviously can lead to some crash outs. So you hope that they are able to balance that, because again, I think it's a roster that, and I think we all agree, like it's a roster that does have a lot of potential on paper. It just really is ultimately going to come down to, can they kind of balance each other out to where it works well for the team as a whole, versus it kind of being the downfall of the team. So we'll see. I mean, they've gotten off to a hot start in regional finals, kind of weathered out there in the middle and stalled out right before match point. So that kind of might be the signs of like, can they find that consistency? So we'll definitely a team to keep an eye on, though, for sure.
I want to see TSM win, just for the simple reason that if they do win and you watch the chat, how many times are people going to say, "Where's Hal?" I just want to see that just typed in chat over and over and over again.
I'm actually asking. No, I'm actually asking. Has that happened before? I didn't know like if they've ever won a game.
Every time I watch chat on any final day, it's just the only questions I see typed are about Hal.
Like, yeah, but like typically it's like about like where's Falcons, where's Hal? When Falcons play, when does Hal play?
I've seen
I didn't know if people like confused
Hal on TSM.
I didn't know. That's crazy.
I still see those to this day. So I wonder, like, let's just say we have our best, most watched LAN. You got like 200,000 people in there. I think we're going to see a handful. I think we'll see a handful. I still see them to this day. It's crazy to me. It's crazy because you'd assume that they're fans of Hal, so they would know that he's on Falcons, but then you still see like, where's Hal? Like, I don't know. I'm just interested to see.
Where is he?
I need him now. Wolves Esports. We got our final 2 teams. We got Wolves Esports, the Premier League team. The Premier League team has an Apex team. I love to see it. We've got the Apex South team, Wolves Esports. Don, what do you got from Wolves?
Yeah, I mean they got 6th in their Apex South Pro League, a team that I believe was formerly known as SWQ. For those who maybe had seen them at past lands, I know they are a team that has struggled at times during Pro League. They did find their way in. They're definitely one of those teams that was kind of on like the border as like the final games are going down, and they ended up kind of vaulting their way in eventually to steal their spot. I mean, one of the better names in the entire pro scene of I Hate the World is on that team. Sometimes it's referenced as No Name because I'm assuming there's just some places that probably don't like that his name is I Hate the World. So it's just listed as No Name. But I mean, he had 83 kills and 43k damage during Pro League, which I would say is probably it's probably pretty decent. Never mind, I wouldn't go into all that. But no, I mean he definitely is a guy that can turn fights when he has when it's his day. Again, he was 4th overall in APAC South in kills, so their team I think will also kind of fall more towards the bottom of the leaderboard if I had to guess. Again, just because not Crazy Kong is one of their players as well. He has had LAN experience versus the other two have at least been to 1 or 2 LANs. So it could be a team that will probably have some struggles with the lobby quality jumping up. But again, you never know with some of these fraggers from APAC, how they can turn a lobby at times. So if he is able to maybe, pick up a few extra kills here or there, maybe they're kind of able to jump their way more into the middle of the pack and give themselves a chance during that semifinal round.
Hey,
And then,
I was gonna say, listen, if I professionally had to play against fucking Devo users fucking 8 hours a day, I'd hate the world too. Like, fuck,
it's a great point. He might have just been ahead of the curve, honestly.
Really good point. That is a really good point. And then we rounded out with our final team, boys. The final team of Pool A. We got Zero Tenacity from EMEA. I don't know a whole lot about Zero Tenacity, but what do you guys got?
Yeah, so with Zero Tenacity, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that they're definitely going to play off of Fuda. It's a name that people definitely recognize from past lands. He had played with the K-Swinney squads a couple times. So he'll be a player definitely to keep an eye on. He led the team with 76 kills. Yes, if there is some confusion for people, like there was some people on this podcast, there was multiple versions of Zero Tenacity at one time. So this is like a team that got signed by Zero Tenacity again. So don't get too confused if you see that multiple times get brought up. But I think that the ceiling of this team, I think in a LAN environment may not be the highest, just because, again, they, after the Open, kind of came together. I believe one player and their now coach were the ones that kind of held the spot. So they're a team that I think is still good to be developing some chemistry over time, and it might be a team maybe we look further into like Split 2 that might gain a little bit more traction when it comes to like the world stage. But I think right now, especially when they kind of had to put some stuff together and they're a little bit newer together, I think that, again, they'll probably be a team that we might see a little bit more towards the bottom, kind of fighting their way into that semifinal. But again, 76 kills from Feud is definitely not a number to slouch at. So we'll see if he can maybe have an impact for him and shake some things up.
And ladies and gents, that is pool number A. That is pool number A. They are pool number A. Super exciting. We went through every single team right there, boys. We're going to hit pool B next week. But ladies and gents, that should just about do it for this week. We're going to throw it on down to the heart-to-heart and then send you guys on the rest of your week. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gents, let's round it out with the heart-to-heart this week. Jumba is back, so he must go first.
Dude, I listened to the pod last week and I got to heart, and I just loved when you go from end of the show to the start of the show. We lost Jump somewhere along the way. He is not here. I was like, oh, good. I'm happy because I was like, I wonder if people are just gonna be like, what the fuck happened to him? Like,
I was gonna just let it go, and I was like, I don't think I can. Like,
no one cares. No one ever cares. By the way, the comment section just never cares. They're out. No one. I don't even belong on this show. They never miss me. But then on the Reddit, they're like, I can't believe Wyatt, that fuck, never posts. Actually, they didn't say that. They said, I hope I'm not sounding too critical. Was just surprised Wyatt doesn't post on the Reddit.
Yeah.
It's because
Don't
I
worry,
knew
I put
the
him in his place. It's fine.
no, the
I'm
guy was
kidding.
nice
I'm
about it.
kidding. He was being very nice.
Yeah, he was nice about it. But I even dropped a response today too, because someone said like, I can't believe Wyatt doesn't post on here. I dropped a response to, I liked giving the other guys karma. I feel like people want their Reddit karma. So like if these guys want to get their post karma or whatever, I'm not much of a Redditor. So I'll let them get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get it
Well,
on Reddit.
I went on Reddit one time when the show first dropped, and I was getting flamed, and I was like, yeah, I can't come back here. Like it started getting into my head to where I was trying to like change my style, and then my next like 2 shows were complete ass. So I was like, no, I'm gonna stay off.
My
So
bad,
that's
dude.
why.
That was me. I was just calling you a bitch all the time.
Yeah, it probably was.
It
Probably
all
was
makes
you.
sense.
Anyways,
Your heart
heart to
Jumbo.
heart. Shit. Give me a moment to think. You know, this week I've been really busy. I've been really busy with work. This is going to be the weirdest heart to heart I've ever done. And Wyatt texted me about an NHL trade. Okay. Wyatt texted me about an NHL trade. And when he did, we were talking about that. And I was talking about how I don't like the Philadelphia Flyers management. I think they kind of suck. And then Wyatt said, should we become the GMs? Like, what if we were the GMs? And I was like, I bet we could do pretty good. We should find a GM simulation game and we should rip that, because that would be pretty sick to see how we can do. And I found one online, this very, very intuitive hockey GM game. And I have been so busy, and I was supposed to pound out a script and all this other stuff, and I have wasted way too much time. I just want to say that I have gone 8 seasons straight of, 8 seasons. Of course I've gone 8 seasons straight with the Toronto Raccoons. That's my team. Long story short, we went to the Cup final 5 times. I've won 1. That pissed me off. I started a new team just for the funsies. Wanted to just kind of like draft players and like see how I could grow them. And we won in our first fucking year. Long story short, I am having some of the most fun of my life, spending 3 to 4 hours looking at fictional free agency.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. And you know what? We would do this in an NHL video game if they were good, which they haven't been for a long time. So let's figure that out.
I just want to say shout out. I don't know. It's like Zen GM. Sure. My heart to heart this week is like finding fun in the little things. I did not think that this game is literally basically like a spreadsheet. It looks like a spreadsheet. And I have been killing 4 hours in chunks of time just fucking going, should I sign Evgeny Kalinlin back when he's 32 years old and on $7 million contract when he's going to regress, even though he put up 50 goals for the last 4 seasons? Guess what? I didn't do it. I brought in Koa Marks and we went to the Stanley Cup final again and got fucking swept. I'm basically the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Maybe
good.
bring back the 50 point.
No, because he regressed. He didn't do as good. And plus, I got
fine.
Michael Tremblay, who's basically Sidney Crosby. He's also 33 now, though. So we gotta have a talk with him.
But Sid, he continues to.
Yeah, but he's making 13 million, bro. Like Sid would never take 13 mil.
No, he'd stick at 8.7. My heart to heart this week is also video game based. I'm back. And when I say I'm back,
this is so crazy.
I say I'm back, I mean I'm back on that zombies grind, baby.
Chat, today, Wyatt kicked me off Packapod. Literally texted me saying, he said, he texted me and said, you're off Packapod, and I fucking hate you. That's what he said in text messages today. I have the proof.
All I said was I tweeted out the Packapod logo, and listen, the reason why we didn't invite Jumbo to these Easter egg runs was because we knew he was trying to win the Stanley Cup. We wanted our guy to get his cup. We wanted him to win.
You didn't know. I haven't talked to him. This is the first I've told you about this. This is the first I've told you about this.
We wanted him to win the cup.
You're lying to them. You're such a gas.
For him to say this, it just hurts. It cuts me deep because he's such an integral part of Packapod.
I don't know.
And you know who's also an integral part of Packapod is Brian, who's never been on the show and never will be because he's just going to be a legend of the show.
Yeah, neither this show nor that show. Like Brian, we're just talking about as a mythical
But we're going to talk about Brian. He's never going to be on either of them. So, we I
don't know why you're saying I'm lying though. I have the text proof where it says I hate you. You're off Packapod. Like
no, I did not. Yeah, I did not say that. I literally said we did some of the Easter eggs. Actually, just one. We tried to beat the tomb and we couldn't beat it. And he said, "I can't believe you just told me you hate me."
Yeah, but like no invite. So I kind of read between the lines. Like you basically said, "Go fuck yourself."
Here's what happened. We were already in Discord, and then Richie had really wanted to do them.
Okay, that's fine.
and
If
so
it was Richie, then
Richie
that's
was the
fair.
fill-in.
I
Richie
haven't
was the
talked to Richie
fill-in.
in a hot minute, so if it's Richie, that's cool. I don't mind.
Yeah, Richie was the fill-in. So
Shut up, Rich.
we did 2 Shattered Veils. The first time we
I
failed
don't
it.
even know what these maps are, bro. I haven't
Second
played
time
Zombies in
we
so
beat
long.
it. And then we tried to do the tomb twice, failed it both times. The second time, Kyle was so not locked because he had just gone on a date and he was just absolutely mind fucking what happened at the end of it. And so he was not locked. At one point, he literally tried to change Jayhawk's volume in Discord mid round and died right before the boss fight had started. So we had to wait more rounds to get all of his perks back because he had no money. He was just so unbelievably locked. He was just thinking about his date.
Was the date good or bad?
Well,
You don't have
you'll
to.
have to go listen to Grab My Bachelor if you want to go figure out what happened.
I'll go listen. I'll go listen to that. But
You'll have to go listen. But
damn,
yeah,
it sounds like you guys needed the rookie of the year who went like 6 Easter eggs straight before dropping his first failure. You know, that's like that's who you
that's
needed.
good. That's good. I think what we really needed was something magical like the throw. I think that's what we really need. The tomb is actually ridiculously hard, and I hate that map, and it sucks. It's such a bad map, or it's not even. It's just boring, but like it's terrible. And so to have to keep playing it over and over again is like actual pain and torture. But we keep having to do it. So we got to figure out the tomb. Jay went off by himself and did it by himself, and then I was going to try to do it by myself.
Fashion. That is just
he always
fashion.
He's just like me and him were both thinking about it all night, but the difference between me and Jay when it came to this was like he was like, I literally can't unless I go do it. Like I need to get it done. Whereas I had to I was just like contemplating doing it. He's all about that action. So he went and he did it, and we're gonna try to figure it out. But yeah, so I'm back on zombies. 1 map left in Black Ops 6 zombies. So yeah, I think we're gonna record some Pack-a-Pods. If you guys are zombies fans, we're just be ready for that. That's gonna be some fun. We still do need to play the Easter eggs with Jumbo, though. I think Jumbo, have you played the Tomb or Shattered Veil?
The last map I played was, I think, the second one.
Okay, so we got,
which is the map with the swords.
Veil.
The map with the swords is the last one I played.
Okay, so yeah, so you haven't played the Tomb, which is good. And then Shattered Veil you got to play, which is I honestly have it in my top 5 maps in all of my out of all the Treyarch games.
Yeah, I got to get back into it. When Zombies came out, bro, I was ripping Liberty balls like
me
I
too.
put up the most remember you
Dude,
guys
you
are
were
like
putting up rounds.
How many X fills did you have, Jumbo? I was like,
yeah, you had a ton.
Grinding.
And then, yeah, that's it. So zombies, 1 map left in this rotation. Then we already had Black Ops 7 get announced, and there was a bus in the background. So I think we're getting a Transit remake. So things are going to be interesting coming up, zombies. Dawn, your heart-to-heart this week.
Real quick, I'm pretty sure my only contribution to zombies was literally me trying to take notes of which guns you had used for that one challenge.
Oh my god, remember that?
And then it didn't work.
And then it didn't work. So
and then I fucking ran it back with him, and then like it just didn't.
Yeah,
work.
So my non-zombies existence is shit. So I'm not, I'm glad you guys found some peace in zombies. But anyway, my heart-to-heart is I have been a stressed mess these last couple weeks. A lot has gone on in just my personal life with different stuff with family and work and trying to get stuff done for podcasts and things like that. And I found what might be one of the better ways to relax, and that is mowing your lawn. I have finally found why grown adult males say mowing your lawn is relaxing. I never reached that point in my life. I think I officially have to call myself old now, though, so that's the shitty part. But shout out to mowing your lawn, because that was actually very peaceful and relaxing this week. It was much needed after, like I said, just a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, shout out to people that mow their lawn and find some excitement in that, because I have finally reached that point in my life.
Have you purchased your Nike Air Monarchs yet? Like the dad shoe? Have you gotten the dad?
No, I'll make sure to wish list that though.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if you're gonna be a mow your lawn guy, you need to have the grass stained Air Monarchs, because then people know, oh, he's serious. Like he's about this. I'm gonna listen to what he has to say. And when you talk to him about lawn, you gotta have the Monarchs on obviously with the khaki shorts, and then you got to be standing like this. Just
Can't do that yet. You're still an eligible bachelor. Can't
That's
do that.
fair.
Don,
That's fair.
that's so funny though, because a couple of years ago I had moved out into a new build house with my sister. And I was there a lot more. My sister was always busy with work, so I was there alone. And one day I had no grass. The next day I had grass. And then the guy told me, you gotta make sure to water this, and we gotta fucking make sure it settles in. So I was like, aye. I went to Walmart, bought myself a sprinkler, set that shit up, went into the room, grabbed a little fucking chair, foldable chair, pulled it out, sat in the window, and just watched the sprinkler water my grass as if it was going to sprout roots in the next 2 hours and I was going to catch it. I just sat there and I watched that shit. And every day I tended to that grass so carefully, so nicely. Now, it's a little bit sad because I had moved back in with my parents. My sister moved there with her now husband. And last week we redid the backyard. So my grass that I ever so watched for 2 to 3 weeks, just fucking watering it, we completely ripped up.
No,
but there's new grass in the backyard. Looks nice now.
But it's not the grass that you were so connected to, though.
The funny thing is, this one I should probably be more connected to because I laid this grass and I fucking.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I just didn't get to sit there for 2 to 3 weeks to watch it grow, like my child. But yeah, I was thinking the same shit. I was like, "Holy crap! I'm 23 and my excitement is staring at this grass all day long. What is going on?"
Yeah, I the next day walked by my front door and just looked at the grass. I was like,
okay,
that looks really good, man.
I got a real quick question for you, and then we're gonna round this out. Are you cutting your grass like an inch taller than your neighbors, so this way your grass looks a little bit better, a little bit richer and fuller?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Come on,
are you on a sitting mower or are you pushing that John?
Pushing the John.
How much grass do you have?
It's not
enough
crazy.
for a sitting mower. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy.
I didn't know. Sometimes people have the property.
I ain't got it like that right now, Wyatt. Until maybe start paying me for this podcast, maybe I can get a bigger yard. No,
I pay for this podcast. Guys, shut up. I run GMB streams on fucking Monday nights, and I'm not even on the podcast, bro. Like what? I get nothing from that shit.
We appreciate.
Yeah. Shout out. Watch DMR. Those are funny.
Watch DMR.
Shout out, honestly,
wait till the Choking Chickens game is over, then watch DMR.
But you have to be careful with the 1-inch trick because your neighbors may band against you and come after you. But
I will say though, there's somebody across my street that never cuts the grass. I'm like, man, I can roll up and down this block, and I will always know I'm at least better than one house on this block. Shout out to that guy.
Hell yeah. Well, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for this week's episode of the Apex the Podcast. Next week, we're going to go through Pool B, talk about all the teams as we head into EWC. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. We're super excited for EWC. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. We'll catch you guys next week. See ya.